Hi, everyone. I'm Shanna Groves here with Definitely Talking. Today's guest is a friend of mine. Her name is Karen Putz. Karen is an author, she is a coach, and she is very passionate about life. I'm also, you can probably see in her video background, she is an artist. And among other things, she's also been a barefoot water skier. Karen, like myself, is deaf, and that doesn't limit us from doing the things we love and enjoy. So, Karen, welcome. Why don't you say a few words about yourself? Give me more of an introduction.
Sure, sure. That was a great introduction, by the way. I am passionate. I love doing many different things, but I'm also known as the Passion Mentor. I'm a life coach, and I coach people about the topic of passion and how to have more fun, more joy, more adventure in the second half of life. So I'm really passionate about that. I've written 24 books. And my latest book right now is the Success Wisdom book. And I'm just about to release another passion book.
So, success wisdom. How can our viewers find your book?
Well, all of my books are on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon and you type in my name, any number of books will come up.
Sure. And also, do you have them on your website?
I do, yeah, but I haven't even put them all on there. So all on Amazon for sure.
Amazon. All right, everyone. You need to look for Karen on Amazon. She will be there and you will find all of her great stuff. Okay, so today, Karen and I are going to talk more about passion, finding your purpose, your passion, things that you're good at, or maybe discovering things that you might be good at that you didn't even realize. Karen, can you go to like the beginning of your deafness story? I guess I'm not sure what better way to explain your experience in having deafness, and then how that experience helped you launch into what you do today with your work.
Sure, I was actually born hearing. So I had normal hearing when I was born. And then I started losing my hearing in kindergarten. And then growing up, I was just ashamed of being hard of hearing. I hid my hearing aid. I didn't let anyone see it. I only had one hearing aid at that time. And I just grew up just being very ashamed of being hard of hearing. And then I discovered the sport of barefoot water skiing in high school. And I loved the sport. I was very passionate about it. And one day I turned to cross the lake and I fell. So when I climbed into the boat, I had become deaf, just like that. And it was a real struggle at that time, a very dark time in my life. Then one day I woke up and I thought, okay, I can continue to struggle or I can embrace the journey. And I decided to embrace it. And the minute I made that decision, things started to get a little easier because I was no longer hiding. I really reduced my social bluffing. That moment where you don't understand anything, but you're in a social situation, so you bluff your way through it. Very common thing to do. I reduced that. I just started owning being deaf. And I learned American Sign Language. I met my husband, and we have 3 kids who are also deaf.
Wow, what a life you have lived so far. And the fact that you discovered when you were young, to stop hiding your hearing device, learning ASL, embracing it, because now you are the role model and the mom of 3 children who are also deaf and also do probably look up to you for that wisdom and that guidance. Can you tell me a little bit more? Because we're both, I guess, lip reading moms. There's my limited ASL. What how do you identify in your daily life as a person who cannot hear? Do you identify deaf with a capital D, lowercase deaf, which, we can explain a little bit of what those differences are, and or hard of hearing?
Honestly, I identify as being Karen. I really tell people that I'm Karen first, and I happen to be that. And being deaf, if I'm in my deaf community and I'm using ASL, then that's who I am in that context. If I'm among all my hearing peers and I'm speaking, then I'm still deaf. And the whole big D, little d thing has so many aspects to it. A lot of times it's just a part of who I am, where I am, and who I'm hanging out with. That identity comes out during that time. Like if I'm using ASL with somebody else who is deaf or is deaf blind, or tactile, I'm still caring, but I'm just communicating differently at that moment.
Yeah, that is a very good perspective, I think. Identifying as yourself first. So, people first language. I know that some people are identity first, some people are people first and how they identify. I am embracing the fact now, because I can't hear without my devices, that I am deaf, but with a lowercase d, because in medical terms, when you take off my devices, I have profound hearing loss, which equates to deafness. But like you, I wasn't born with hearing loss. It gradually happened, and growing up with an undiagnosed hearing loss, there's all this other implications to that. But I learned as an adult, and you learned it early on, that if we just embrace this aspect of ourselves, that it can become a part of us, but it isn't all that we are, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
Absolutely. So tell me, Karen, how did you get into your public speaking? I know you do a lot of presentations, advocacy presentations across the United States. You're traveling all the time to promote your books or your coaching. Tell me, how did you get started with this unique life that you have now?
I think that it happened early on because the moment that I made the decision to embrace being deaf, I started becoming a leader. I became the president of the deaf club. And when you're the president of a deaf club, you've got to get up and you've got to speak, sign, you know? So, and then I started leading parent groups through Hands and Voices. And I started speaking a lot through Hands and Voices. And then in 2009, I took a job with a video phone company, which I had to make presentations after presentation. And then when that job ended, I started my speaking business, and I go to deaf schools and I sign, or I go to corporations and I speak. So I just go, whoever hires me, that's where I go.
I think that that is actually when I first met you, was about 15 or 16 years ago, when you came to I live in Kansas City, and you were speaking on behalf of Hands and Voices. You gave a presentation, and I went up to you, and I'd already known who you were, and I think we had corresponded online, but I was like, "Karen," and I think I had my kids with me too. I don't know if you remember, and they were really young at the time, but now they are essentially grown. Tell me more about your family, Karen. So you have three children, and I take it that they're not little anymore. Tell me kind of your family and all that great stuff.
My kids are now in their early 30s or their late 20s. So, I'm 60. I just turned 60 this year. So, yeah. Yeah, I turned 60 and I feel like a kid
Oh,
still, you know? Um, but my kids are doing well. They're grown. My oldest kid works in marketing and is getting his MBA. And my middle kid just took a new job, and then my youngest one just got engaged. So they're doing their own thing in their own lives.
that's so great. That's so great. And are you all spread out geographically, or do you live in the same area?
Well, I'm in Rochester. My husband and I moved to Rochester because all three kids were living there. And so we built a house on the river and we've been here since. So we're out in the similar locations.
And this is Rochester, New York, correct?
Rochester, New York. Yeah, I teach at RIT. I teach
Yes.
stress management and finding your passion.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So you're up further north than me. But you also do some traveling too. I know that you were recently in Colorado. You you do a lot of. I think that at one time you were in Florida, and so I'm trying to keep track. What I guess because I'm always just in the flyover state of Kansas and don't get to do all the great things right now that you're doing. I don't have the excuse of young children anymore, though. My children are 24, 21, and almost 18 and senior in high school. I can't use that excuse anymore. I want to travel like you. What are some This is like a question I just thought off the top of my head. What are some travel considerations that people who are deaf or hard of hearing need to consider before they get on an airplane or maybe when they're communicating at an airport? I know that things aren't always accessible. So, how have you advocated for yourself and maybe even the community for that accessibility when you travel?
That's a good question. Well, first of all, my husband retired unexpectedly. So we were trying to figure out how do we do this travel thing on a new budget? And so I was, talking to other senior nomads, and they told me, oh, we have some pet sit. And so my husband and I started doing that. We have some pet sit all over in different places. So when we feel like traveling, we just pick up a pet sitting job and we go. Yeah. So
So,
for some travel considerations, I always have my phone on me. And on my phone, there's a couple of different things. I have an app called Otter. There's also live transcribe on there. And so I'm always using captioning. And in some airports, like in Rochester, we have access to an app called Aero, and that pulls up an interpreter immediately at the airport. So there's all different kinds of options when you travel, and there's always good old pen and paper.
yeah. And do you tell people when you're boarding, I can't hear. Can you please communicate with me if there is a change in the flight? Or I know you mentioned pen and paper, but sometimes it's nice to actually be able to lip read someone and be able to understand what they're saying to us. What 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 advice would you give to someone who's maybe a newbie or maybe doesn't travel very much and they're hard of hearing or deaf and you want to give them advice on advocating for themselves to have that communication access?
Yeah, I that's one of the reasons I love Southwest is that they allow you to pre-board. And some people get angry at me about that, but I always share what happened to me. I was on a United flight to Hawaii and I was sleeping, and we made an emergency landing and no one notified me. They can't find you in row 26 in the middle seat during the emergency. They can't run over and tell you what's going on. But if you're upfront, and they can get to you quickly and explain things. So for that reason alone, I always tell people, if the plane is going down, I would like to know.
That's not funny, but the way you explain it is just like just a simple courtesy of someone tapping me on the shoulder to wake me up. I think that's one of my concerns. I used to do a lot of air travel for work, and this was before I even got hearing help. So it was a little scary sometimes. I had to follow people's leads a lot, and it led to all kinds of interesting conversations on airplanes and different things. So, Karen, I want to end our conversation today with a question that I ask my other podcast guest. And it is, what is your superpower? What is something that you are good at or that you feel very strongly about that uh, if someone were to see you, it would be one thing that you would really want them to know about you.
Well, I think my superpower is my ideas. I have 200 ideas a minute, and I'm not kidding you. Sometimes my mind's spinning so fast that the other day my daughter said to me, Mom, please slow down, because I had so many different ideas about let's do this, let's do that. Not always the greatest thing, but if you need an idea, I can come up with one for you.
I might take you up on that. I know that with your book publishing and your travel, your advocacy, even thinking outside the box as having a secondary income with pet sitting, all of those things probably were ideas that originated first from Karen, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I had a
very
million and one
cool.
ideas of just only 24 hours in a day.
I can really relate with you because my husband is more of a detail person and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 let me catch up." Because he's actually the person behind the scenes that's helping some of these things happen. And I'm the one who's very general, big picture. This is what I like, and this is what I like, and this is what I like. So it's nice. It seems to me that you either have that balance in your own life with yourself, or there's someone that you collaborate with and partner with. And would you
But
like to
we married the
explain that?
same man. We married the same man.
They're along for the ride usually, correct?
Yep, yep.
Wow.
Strap in.
We should call ourselves the deaf extroverts with the ever racing minds.
Well, here's the thing though, I'm introverted. I get my energy from being alone. I get my energy from writing alone. Yeah, I can't
You're an
have everything
introvert.
in my life.
No, I never would have guessed. I've always thought of you as very, you know, outgoing and putting yourself out there. So that's really cool. Whatever you're doing, as you say that you're an introvert, but it's you have magnified all of the strengths I think that an extrovert has. You're able to do that. So in a way, you're kind of flexible. You can go back and forth.
I can do the extroverted thing for a very short time, and then I need 4 hours of introvertedness to recover.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's wrap up this wonderful discussion that we've had today by let our listeners and our viewers know more about. You said you have multiple books, so share again like those book titles because people will be looking these up on Amazon and we'll be writing this down.
Sure, I had Success Wisdom, this one. It's also available in Spanish. And my popular book is this one. Whoops, Unwrapping Your Passion. And then I'm releasing a new passion book very soon.
So almost three books.
Actually 24 books. I have children's books as well. I have 5 children's books.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so children's books too. Wow, we could set up another call, I think, to discuss that. So we have a lot of listeners that probably have children or grandchildren that would love to support an author who is deaf. I think that is cool. So I'm not calling you a deaf author. I'm saying Karen is an author who is deaf. Does that sound about right?
That sounds great. Mhm. Yeah. I do love my children's books, so take a look at those on Amazon.
I'll check it out. And probably for our listeners and viewers, I will post some details with some of the marketing of this video so that you can actually have a live link to click on. Karen, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a great pleasure. And you are one of the people that I admire so much.
Aw, you're so sweet. I'm so glad our paths crossed.
Yes. Well, thank you. And thank you all for joining us today for Definitely Talking, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you guys for joining us.